welcome back to my channel. Today I have another dump and go crockpot video, and these are going to be perfect crockpot meals for the winter time. They're really nice and warm and cozy, so I hope you will enjoy all of these recipes. If you are new here, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. I would love to have you over on my channel. I share a lot of cooking content, really quick and easy recipes, crockpot meals, and other food related content. But without further ado, let's go ahead and get into today's video. For this first recipe, I'm making some shredded barbecue chicken. On this particular night, I did it in a wrap, but you can also make this into sandwiches. You can eat it plain, you can throw it onto pizza, but this is my all-time favorite barbecue chicken. It always turns out really good. I've been making it this way for years. So I went ahead and sprayed my crock pot with a little bit of oil, and then I'm adding 3 chicken breasts right into my crock pot. I am adding a little bit of garlic powder, salt and pepper. Just add that to taste. Nothing too crazy. And then I'm adding in about a 1/4 cup of brown sugar, and I'm just kind of crumbling that on there. I'm also adding in a 1/4 cup of zesty Italian dressing. This just makes it really nice and tangy. And then you're also going to want to add in 1 tablespoon of Worcestershire sauce. My all-time favorite barbecue sauce is the Sweet Baby Ray's barbecue. I almost always go for generic, but this is one thing that I will always buy name brand. I just love the Sweet Baby Ray's. So I'm adding in a cup of that, and then I'm just cooking this on high for about 4 to 5 hours, just depending on your crock pot. My chicken breasts were frozen, so I had them in there for about 5 hours. And then when they are completely cooked through, I'm just pulling them out and putting them in a bowl. And I'm gonna actually shred up my chicken with a hand mixer. It always is so much easier that way, and it comes out to be a more finely shredded chicken. So if you've never tried that, I definitely recommend it. And then I'm just adding the chicken right back into the crock pot. I let it sit for another 20 minutes or so just to kind of marinate in all of the barbecue flavor. There are so many different things that you can do with this barbecue chicken, which is one of the reasons that I love it. On this particular night, I was feeling like a wrap, and we had some of these tortillas left over from burritos. So I just added a little bit of the chicken, some sour cream, some cheese, lettuce. Go ahead and add whatever you have on hand, and this turns out to be such a good wrap. This chicken is really good. It's a little bit sweet, a little bit tangy, and I just love it. My kids love this one as well, and it also freezes really good, so if you have leftovers, you can just pop it into the freezer for a really quick and easy meal later on. For this next dinner, I'm making some cheesy chicken spaghetti, and this was a new recipe for me, but you guys, it turned out so good. This is definitely going to be one that I will make again. My family absolutely loved it, and it also made a ton of food, so really great if you're looking for a nice budget-friendly meal. So I'm starting off with cutting up all of my veggies. So here I have about a 1/4 of a red pepper, and then I have 1 small yellow onion, and I'm just dicing those up. Now heading over to my crock pot, I'm just going to spread that with a little bit of oil to prevent anything from sticking, and then I'm going to add my 3 chicken breasts right in here. You can use fresh or frozen. Mine were originally fresh from Walmart, and I had just popped them into the freezer before they went bad. And then I'm going to add in my onion as well as my red pepper. Now for this sauce, it's really easy, but it turns out really delicious. So I'm adding in 1 can of diced tomatoes, 1 can of cream of mushroom soup, and then I'm also going to be adding in a big scoop of minced garlic. I would say probably a couple tablespoons. And then for seasonings, I'm doing 2 teaspoons of Italian seasoning, 1 teaspoon of paprika, and then the recipe did not call for it, but I did decide to add in a 1/4 teaspoon of black pepper, as well as about 1/2 teaspoon of salt just for some extra flavor. I'm just giving this a really quick mix together to kind of incorporate everything, and then I'm going to be cooking this on high for about 4 to 5 hours, again just depending on your crock pot and if your chicken breasts were frozen or not. After they are fully cooked through, make sure they reach the internal temp of 165 degrees, and then I'm just taking my hand mixer, shredding up that chicken, and then I'm going to be adding in all of the cheesy goodness. So here I have about 1/2 cup of some grated Parmesan, Parmesan. You can use either grated or shredded here. And then I'm also adding in 2 cups of Colby and Monterey Jack cheese. I believe the recipe actually called for cheddar, but I did not have any of that on hand. So I just used this and it turned out perfect. And I'm just mixing that up and kind of letting it melt in there. Once that has kind of incorporated, then I'm also adding in 1 block of cream cheese, and I'm just gonna let this melt in. It took a couple of minutes to fully incorporate, and I let it sit for a few minutes after that as well, just to make everything really melted together. After your chicken is shredded and your sauce is ready to go, you're gonna want to cook up 1 box of pasta. I chose to use a spaghetti. I used a thin spaghetti and it was great in this recipe. Highly recommend going with that kind, but I just fully cooked it through and then I added it right into my sauce, gave it a good mix together, and you guys, this turned out so good. This is definitely something that I will be making again. It kind of reminded me of like a chicken tetrazzini, and my kids absolutely devoured this one. For this next recipe, I'm making a ham and veggie soup. You guys, this one has so much flavor and really great for a cold winter night. So of course, I'm just gonna start off with spraying my crock pot with some oil. And then I have 1 large ham bone with a couple big chunks of ham. This was just left over from Christmas. I'm adding in about 3 cups of diced up potatoes, as well as a diced up onion. And then I'm also gonna be adding in about 2 to 3 carrots, just depending on the size of the carrots. I just slice those up, and then I'm adding in about 1 cup of some frozen green beans. For lots of extra flavor in this soup, I'm adding in a big scoop of minced garlic along with 1 can of petite diced tomatoes. And then for seasonings, I'm keeping it pretty simple, but this will add a lot of flavor. So this is 2 teaspoons of Italian seasoning along with 1 teaspoon of some dried basil. I did about half a teaspoon of some black pepper. You can do a little bit more or a little bit less. And then I just added in a tiny bit of salt to taste. I didn't want to add too much because it is ham and that has a lot of salt in itself. And then I did add in about 6 cups of chicken broth. Again, you can adjust this to your family's preferences. If you want your soup to be a little bit thicker, you can add less, or you can also add more. I did cook this on high for I think about 5 hours is what mine ended up taking, 4 to 5 hours. Once it was done, I pulled out the big ham bone, and I also diced up the ham that was in there, the big chunks that I added earlier. And then this soup turned out absolutely delicious. It had so much flavor, and it was also very hearty. You can top it with a little bit of Parmesan cheese if you want, but this one is super delicious. For this next dinner, I'm making a lemon pepper with some chicken and rice. Really nice and quick to throw in the crock pot, and it makes a full meal so you're not really having to make any sides or anything other than maybe a veggie. So I'm starting off with my crock pot here, and I'm adding in 1 small onion that's diced up, a big scoop of minced garlic, and then for seasonings, I did 1 teaspoon of some basil, a teaspoon of oregano, 1 teaspoon of parsley, and then it called for about a 1/4 teaspoon of salt and black pepper. Personally, I think I will add a little bit more salt next time and maybe a little bit more of the other seasonings, but that's just my personal taste. And then I'm also adding in 1 teaspoon of lemon juice along with 2 pats of butter, so about 2 tablespoons. And then the recipe also called for some chicken broth. I added in about 3 cups of the chicken broth. I will link the original recipe that I followed down below, but the original recipe actually said to brown the chicken first, but I did not follow that. I actually went ahead and decided to slice the chicken instead because I really wanted those flavors to get marinated all throughout the chicken. And I also used less chicken than the recipe called for. So I cooked my chicken for about 1 hour, and then I went ahead and added in my brown rice. So this is 2 cups of brown rice. Because I used less chicken than the recipe called for, I opted to add a little bit more rice, and it ended up being perfect. I cooked the rice on high for about 2.5 hours, and it ended up being fully cooked through and good to go. The recipe said you can do 3 hours if you have to, but mine was done at the 2.5 hour mark. But this is what it ended up looking like. I just served it along with some green beans with a little bit of dried parsley on top, and this was definitely a really yummy dinner that was really easy to put together. Alright guys, that is going to wrap up this dump and go crock pot video. I really hope that you enjoyed it. If you did, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. Hit that subscribe button. I would love to have you over on my channel for more food related content, quick and easy recipes, and more crock pot videos. But that is going to be it for today's video. I will catch you all next time. Thanks so much for watching. Bye.
As a young girl, the fields were mine. We played hide and seek for hours, raised our shadows among the pines. So offshore, playful and free, without a care.